Coming up on Network Africa. Maputo residents plead for government support as floodwaters disrupt daily life. The UN Central Emergency Response Fund allocates $5 million to address humanitarian crisis caused by severe flooding in Mozambique. Plus, Nigeria and UAE launch Investopia 2026 to attract global capital to West Africa. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. We begin in Mozambique, where residents in Maputo, the country's capital, are calling for government support, pushing for the installation of additional water pumping machines to flush out stagnant water after heavy rains force people out of their shelters. Locals are wading through standing rainwater on streets and around houses. In some areas, the water can be seen covered with algae. Maputo has experienced some of the most catastrophic rainfall and flooding in its history. While the extreme downpours have begun to subside, the city and the surrounding province remain in a state of emergency. Official reports confirm that 100 deaths and more than 640,000 people have been affected. At least 125 people have died since the start of the rainy season in October.
800,000 people have been affected. Close to 400,000 people have been forcibly displaced. It's another forced displacement crisis for Mozambique. Last year, in the last semester, 300,000 were already displaced by the armed conflict. You imagine what 700,000 newly displaced means for a country like Mozambique, whether it's the result of extreme weather events or whether it's the result of the armed conflict. Basic services are lacking. In one of the classrooms that I just visited, 55 women sleep in the same classroom with their children. Lack of light, lack of services, assistance remain insufficient, so tremendous condition for them. It's heartbreaking to listen to their stories. Many of the people I've just spoken are their third displacement. 3 times they are displaced, 3 times that their house is destroyed. Their farming crops are also lost. They may go back too late home to restart the new agricultural season.
In the meantime, the UN's humanitarian Central Emergency Response Fund has allocated $5 million to address the urgent humanitarian crisis caused by severe flooding in Mozambique. The UN Humanitarian Affairs Officer, Edem Worsonu, says that in response to the Mozambique government's request, the UN, and in particular OCHA's immediate mobilization of response tools and services, helped support a robust government-led response. She said a 20-member United Nations Disaster Assessment and Coordination team has been deployed to Gaza province and to Maputo to strengthen the coordination.
In response to the government's request, the United Nations, and of course in particular OCHA's immediate mobilization of response tools and services, helped support a robust government-led response. A 20-member United Nations Disaster Assessment and Coordination team has deployed to Gaza province and to Maputo to strengthen coordination, information management, assessment, analysis. An OCHA emergency cash grant allowed early deployment of search and rescue teams, and our emergency relief coordinator, Tom Fletcher, allocated $5 million from the Central Emergency Response Fund to scale up the multi-sectoral response. Humanitarian partners are supporting government-led efforts across these countries through search and rescue operations and multi-sectoral assistance, including emergency shelter, water, sanitation, health, food assistance, and protection services. In a world of financial resources, we must shift from reacting to disasters to acting before they strike. One, by early investments in early warning. 2, strengthening national preparedness and local response capacities. 3, ensuring predictable, flexible funding. Preparedness and anticipatory action are amongst the most cost-effective tools we have to reduce humanitarian suffering.
Well, joining us now is Wilker Diaz, Mozambican analyst. He joins us from Johannesburg, neighboring South Africa. A pleasure having you on the program.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure.
Right, so let's get right to it. Can you give us the latest on how the flooding situation has evolved across Mozambique and which areas remain the most affected aside from Gaza and Maputo?
So at this moment, we have Gaza, Maputo, but also Sofala. I think that 3 regions, so 2 provinces are most affected for now. And I think we are leaving the first step. It's the rescue, all victims in the different points. And the second, we are right now in the second step to provide some food, water, and etc. But I think also we are finished that second step. Maybe for the next days we will see the third step. It's to provide the other type of materials. For example, the elective year for the students it will start. It's supposed to start on this week, but we don't have conditions for that in most part of the schools, most particular on that areas most affected with that floods. So we'll start on next month. And I think, for example, the victims of these whole floods, maybe it's very necessary to have the materials for that students, and also to the reconstruction their homes and the other materials for to turn that dream one reality for now. But we have a lot of people in the different accommodation center, and we continue to receive support with the different entities, international entities, not only in particular embassies, but individuals, persons are sending some support. But if you look, for example, to Buzi in Sofala province, we have in one only center of the accommodation more than 600 families. And you know how is our families numbers in Africa. We have a large families, and in total we have more than 300 persons in one accommodation, 3,000 persons on one accommodation center. So it's a lot of people, and we continue to do our best.
Right, residents have been calling on the government for more support. What are their main concerns, and how has the government responded so far to these calls?
So it's not simple because we have one bad things inside of our state. It's the corruption, and some persons inside of that logistical support stolen the material sometimes who are to that people. So that is the reason we have people to claim for more conditions for to try to survive during this time. And one other problem, it's because the government not prepare for these all floods at this moment. But he received the information, I think 2 or 3 months ago, but he did nothing. He didn't prepare for that process. So that is the reason we receive it. As so many people give some accusation to not receiving food or water on the centers in particular. It's because we don't prepare on the logistical sector to create the best conditions or the minimum conditions on the accommodation center. So that is the reason. The government tried to respond, but I think it's not in the proportions or on all the people want at this moment. But on some other centers received so many help or support from the other entities, from the civil society, Mozambican civil society, So it's one form to try to help that people.
And the United Nations, there's been a global support for Mozambique and global calls for support as well. The United Nations, for instance, and partners have launched emergency funding and appeals for aid. How significant is this support on the ground, and where is it being directed?
So it's very important because we have so many problems, or we will see so many problems, in particular in the health sector, because the water created other allergic problems. For example, in the other side, we have the cholera, malaria, and etc. So that is the reason it's important to prevent. And I think in the other side, it's very important to continue to provide the food for those people. If you look in particular to Gaza province, in Gaza province, the most part of the people in some districts like Giza, like Shokwe, are suffering with that way to subsistence is the agriculture. And if one flood affected all all that region, I think we need to prepare to see the worst scenario at this moment. So that is the reason I think that appeal from the United Nations, it's very, very available to try to prevent and solve some other problems.
Right, Wilker, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Well, for the first time on the African continent, Nigeria is co-hosting Investopia, bringing the UAE's flagship investment forum to Africa. Discussions center on how foreign investment can translate into real projects and partnerships across key sectors of the Nigerian economy.
Nigeria is co-hosting Investopia Global Africa, the UAE's flagship investment forum, for the first time on the African continent.
We look forward to continuing our conversations.
The Lagos event brings together investors, business leaders, and policymakers to explore opportunities in infrastructure, agribusiness, technology, and financial services.
Perhaps port modernization or growth.
The forum follows the Nigeria-UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA, which has expanded market access and strengthened economic ties between both countries.
The UAE has a lot of strong suits.
Investor interest is growing, but delivery depends on policy clarity, trust, and private sector participation.
We should focus on quick wins. There are big projects which take years to develop. Sometimes it's the financing, sometimes it's the concession agreement, sometimes it's a change of law that allows that to happen. But there are low-hanging fruit which could be executed today between government of the UAE and the government of Nigeria. And so how do we find those quick wins, show success, that creates a snowball effect that we can all celebrate, and the private sector sees the confidence in investing more.
Nigeria's government says it is setting out a clear investment roadmap.
I see opportunities for UAE capital to be safe here. We've taken time to build the legal framework. The agreements are in place. We've taken time to make sure that there's G2G trust that has grown over the last few years. We're looking for this year to have at least 2-3 transactions that can be proof of concept.
Lagos State highlights it is strengthening its position as an investment destination.
You've seen that there's a whole lot of C-suites, first-class, investors, both local and the ones that have come from Abu Dhabi, from UAE, to sit together and see where are the opportunities. They've said to us that they realize that they've stayed for far too long at the back. They need to now be able to ship those investments, down here. And they feel that, they're ready to make into the Nigerian market. So once they are ready, we need to prepare the grounds.
The forum also saw the signing of a major MOU between First ENP and Digital Energy on AI and energy solutions, turning dialogue into concrete projects.
And still to come on the program. The 14th edition of the Ouagadougou International Dance Festival closes with a call for sharing and healing. Please stay with us. Welcome back to South Africa now, where the Jacob Zuma Foundation has issued a fierce denial after President Zuma's name appeared in newly unsealed court documents related to the late financier and convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. An email from 2010 purportedly involving Epstein's associate Mark Lloyd discusses arranging a dinner at a London hotel for then-President Zuma. The message suggests inviting a woman named Vera to, quote, add some real glamour to the occasion. A subsequent email described Mr. Zuma as impressive and engaging at the event. However, Mr. Zuma's foundation denies proximity to crimes, condemning the reports as an unethical attempt to tarnish his reputation by proximity to the unrelated crimes of a third party. They dismissed the narrative as speculative narrative building disguised as investigative journalism and stated definitely that the matter is closed. The rebuttal comes amidst global scrutiny of the Epstein documents, with the foundation positioning the allegation as a baseless smear rather than a substantive link. Meanwhile, South Africa's opposition leader Julius Malema is calling for African communities to confront what he calls American imperialism, while urging his government to go beyond the expulsion of diplomats to the full closure of the Israeli embassy. Addressing his supporters in Boksburg, he says if Africa is to become a player in the international politics, the continent needs to unite and speak in one voice. He also warned that Africa's divisions invite imperial powers to steal the continent's minerals and wealth, drawing a comparison with the situation in Venezuela. The opposition leader welcomed the government's decision to expel Israel's top diplomat in South Africa.
We need to unite this continent and make it one and speak in one voice if we are to become a player in the international politics. Look, today, South Africa is under attack. The whole of Africa is quiet. But if it was one of those African countries, we were going to be expected to say something as South Africa. But now that we are under attack, the continent is quiet. The unity of Africa doesn't start with the establishment of a United States of Africa. It starts with supporting each other as countries and standing together against imperialism, against dictatorship of Donald Trump. So we need that unity because Trump has realized that the continent is divided and therefore it can become a playing ground for USA imperialism. We must never divide our continent, because if we do that, we are inviting America to come and steal our mineral the same way they are stealing oil in Venezuela, where a madman can declare himself a president of another country. That thing of South Africa sending that diplomat of Israel pegging, it's a proper one. It's a proper stance. Those are the kind of decisions we support. But we don't want that, just that individual. We want the whole embassy of Israel closed down and leave South Africa.
The United Nations warns that civilians are paying the heaviest price as escalating violence in South Sudan's Jonglei state triggers mass displacement and worsens an already severe humanitarian crisis. Briefing reporters in New York, Anita Kiki Bejo, Deputy Special Representative of the UN mission in South Sudan and the country's resident and humanitarian coordinator, said fighting between armed forces has intensified, with civilians increasingly caught up in the crossfire. More than 200,000 people have reportedly been displaced in Jonglei this month alone. The insecurity is compounding a rapidly deteriorating public health emergency. Ms. Bejo said a sharp rise in cholera cases has been recorded in Jonglei, with 125 cases reported in January, contributing to 479 cases nationwide this month.
These vulnerable communities are further impacted by a sharp surge in cholera, with 125 cases reported in Jonglei this month alone. We've had 479 cases reported countrywide. And this comes after we've just gotten out of a bad outbreak of cholera, the worst that South Sudan has seen, with over 97,000 cases overall. Treatment centers are overwhelmed and critically short of supplies. An emergency response in Jonglei is currently underway. More broadly, humanitarian efforts continue to be severely challenged by access constraints. Flight, road, and river restrictions are preventing medical evacuations and disrupting the delivery of life-saving supplies. Humanitarian facilities are being looted, they're being damaged, including at least 7 in Jonglei. Assets are being confiscated and aid workers intimidated. These actions are having an intolerable impact on people in desperate need. We deeply appreciate the release of $10 million from the Central Emergency Relief Fund, CERF, to support those impacted by the Jonglei conflict, and the generosity of donors more generally, and more support is needed. The solution to the current crisis is political and not military. The country's leaders must take urgent, immediate action to pull back from the brink. They must cease hostilities, de-escalate tensions through inclusive dialogue, and return to consensus-based decision-making and actions. The power to make positive change rests with the South Sudanese themselves.
The 14th edition of the Ouagadougou International Dance Festival, known as FIDO, has come to a close in Burkina Faso's capital, celebrating movement, dialogue, and cultural exchange. Held under the theme Partage or Sharing, the festival took place at the Green des Arts Vivants, showcasing traditional, contemporary, and urban dance performances. Footage from the event shows dancers delivering powerful choreography alongside visual arts displayed throughout the venue. Festival founder Irene Desembedo said the space was created from a belief that art is essential, a place to reflect, connect, and heal. The European Union's representative in Burkina Faso, Philippe Bronchan, highlights dance as a universal language that allows artists and audiences to share emotions and stories. For Burkinabe dancer Clarisse Sawadogo, the festival also served as a platform to amplify women's voices, often unheard. And as we close the program, did you know that Gambia is the smallest non-island country in Africa, smaller than the English county of Yorkshire? The Gambia is one of only 2 countries in the world, the other being the Bahamas, to officially include the in its English name, chosen to avoid confusion with Zambia. It's known as the Smiling Coast of Africa, the smallest country on the mainland Africa, almost entirely surrounded by Senegal. And that's the show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers. Stay tuned. On top of the hour, we'll have the news at 5.